We don't know necessarily that we're creative. And I think especially when you come from a background like mine, because for me, I have one identity, but in France, they will always remind you that you have two parts of your identity. I wanted the DNA that I had. I thought he played nice and exactly with the message that I wanted to share. Um, but yeah, I'm not ashamed anymore. But it kind of like built me the person who I am now, because I was thinking, if I was raised like that, why do I put my own barriers when I was taught not to use them?
Hi everyone, I'm Camilo Torres, and welcome again to Flow Community Podcast. In here, we're going to have amazing conversation with the beautiful people that has joined our community. We're going to get a lot of inspirations for their life journeys, passions, creations, because we believe that when you share your story, you can inspire others. So please enjoy this new episode. And also, would love to invite you to share our community. And if you would like to be part of this podcast, please go to our website, flowwithcommunity.com. Thank you. So please welcome Dounia. Hi, Dounia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for being part of this podcast and to be part of Flow community. Yeah, it's
That's
my
exciting.
very pleasure. And it's very nice how we met. We met in this event and you were exhibit your product. You are a founder of a really nice brand.
Thank you.
But I would like you to explain more about your brand and what you do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I started DNA with Love about 2 months ago officially. So we soft launched. I don't have a manufacturer yet. So I'm just postponing the actual launch probably to the end of this year. For now, everything is homemade in Marylebone, where I live in my kitchen. We have granola, protein bowls, and energy bowls. And the name comes from my name is Dounia, so DNA. And at the same time, I want my roots from North Africa and the Western world, where I was born and where I grew up in France, to meet together. And that's part of my DNA. So that's how I created this. And I really like to cook. And to be in the kitchen. I work in finance, which is nothing related to that. And I really wanted to do something more fun and, as I told you, more creative, because I didn't know I had any creativity in me.
Wow, and that's so interesting. And anyway, before before we start this podcast, we're talking about that,
Yeah.
and it's so how I'm wondering how did you end up saying, or how did you discover that you said, hey, I'm creative?
I started cooking and baking when I moved from my house, so from my parents, because my mom is a very good cook.
Mhm.
And after ordering in for a few weeks, I was like, okay, I need to eat real food. And at first, I would do everything that my mom told me. I would call her and ask her about recipes. How do I do that? How do I do this? And then I started to be more intuitive. And I've never been a good drawer or a painter or this or that. So I never thought it was really creativity to be in the kitchen until I had a lot of people coming over for dinner, or I would bring food to work and cakes and things like that. And sometimes it was just a simple recipe, but I would add my touch. And usually it was a touch from North Africa, where I come from, based on what my mom told me how to follow her recipe, etc. And I think that's how I discovered that maybe I had a different type of creativity that I expected. I don't think I'm an artist, but at the same time, it's still me when I cook and when I give you my food, it's mine. And yeah, I think that's my way of being creative. Because yeah, do not ask me to draw anything.
But I feel like, yeah, wow, thank you, and thank you for sharing that. And one of the things that you share is like intuition.
Yeah.
And intuition, it comes very linked with creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important to
Yeah.
highlight that.
Yeah. And it's hard to listen to your intuitivity.
Mhm.
And when people ask you, oh, how did you, basically, I realized that I was listening to myself when people ask me, oh, how did you make that?
Mhm.
And I didn't really know what to say in terms of quantity. I was like, oh, I use this and I use this. And they were like, oh, why do you use that? It's usually not a component of the recipe or the traditional one. It's not like that. And then that's actually from other people's perspective that I realized that I was adding my touch to it, because it came naturally. And I think that's why I didn't feel forced, even with this brand now. I was not trying to create a brand, I was just trying to make something that I like. And out of this, people were like, can I buy from you? And that's basically how I started this brand. Not from a necessarily a profit perspective at first, but more of like, oh yeah, well, I'm sharing. Then when you share with so many people, they're like, maybe start selling, because you can't just buy so
Yes.
many things and just give it away to people. um but yeah, that's basically my intuition, creativity, and everything put together, I guess.
And I think, of course, you're an artist, and you're
Yeah.
like
It's
that.
still
Like
hard.
I think we all like the meaning of art and the meaning of creativity.
Yeah.
It's very misunderstood
Hmm.
everywhere and
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And people, like what you said before, like you didn't feel that you were creative. And we all creative.
Hmm.
We all creative souls, and I think we need to light up that creativity.
Yeah. I think
So yeah.
we don't know necessarily that we're creative. And I think especially when you come from a background like mine, um, finance can be seen as very boring and very, you have a computer, you work with numbers, so you're not a creative person because you studied this or that. And you're not a writer, you're not a painter, or so I think it's stuck in my mind as well. That's why I don't think I will ever consider myself as an artist, just because, or I will have to work on my therapy might help, just to see myself differently. Considering myself creative was already a big step, because it took me a while to feel legitimate in that space, because I was like, oh, what am I doing here? I don't know. I have no qualification to do this. Um, so it might be the Western world being like, you have to do this that
Yeah,
way.
100%. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's very inspiring. And I wish a lot of people listen to your story, because this is a little bit of the mission of
Mhm.
Flow. It's to light up that creativity in all of us. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's very inspiring.
Well, even when you told me, oh, do you want to be on this podcast? I was like, when I came home, I was like, why would he want me on a podcast about inspiring or creativity? Or it was like, this is not me. And then I thought, I need to do more things that not necessarily make me uncomfortable, but maybe if someone else sees something in me, I have misconception about myself, so it's a nice path to explore. So I'm very grateful to the Flow community you're creating, because I think people will get to know themselves better.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's one door for each of us, and we have to stick to it.
Mhm.
Um, if someone tries to tell you you can do something else and you want to try, then try.
100%. Wow. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, as I say, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being
thank
part of,
you.
yeah. So with your brand,
Hmm.
and anyway, with your life as
Yeah,
well, how important is to develop identity for you? Because as building a brand, as yeah, I'm building a brand, you need to identity of the brand.
yeah.
But then with that, how do you think how important is to develop your personal identity,
Mhm.
and again with your creativity develop that identity?
I think this is one of the most challenging part for me, because I have ideas in my head, but because I don't consider myself creative, I don't necessarily know how to put them out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even in term, that's why also I say that I soft launched, because the logo, the design itself, I wanted to be minimalist. So I'm on the right path with what I have right now, but at the same time, it's not the end product that I have in mind. And I thought, let's start with simple. And then the more I learn, the better, or the
Mm-hmm.
closer to what I want to build it will look like. I wanted to, when you see it, I want you to feel like you see North Africa or my Arabic heritage. And for now, I don't feel like it's the case, but it will come in the future. And that's why it's quite challenging for me to be like, okay, let's do something. It's not ready. You start, you put it out there, you talk to people,
Mm-hmm.
because that was not necessarily my business area in general. So I didn't know how to come to someone and be like, hi, I have a product, do you want to try?
Uh-huh.
And to make it look like myself as well. I think it's difficult to have a product that is reflecting of you. And yeah, still learning in learning in process for now, but I'm hopeful that working with the right people will help me as well. And just to be, for other people to be proud of being part of this community as well, which was not
Mhm.
always the case. And I come from France where it's sometimes a little bit difficult to have a double identity, as they say, because for me I have one identity, but in France they will always remind you that you have two parts of your identity, which is one, the Arabic heritage, North African, and the
Mhm.
French one because I was born and raised in France. And I kind of like want to build a bridge. I'm not two people, I'm one,
100%.
and it's in me. So my DNA.
Wow. And that's, thank you so much for sharing. And how has been your journey in build,
Mm-hmm.
like, because I personally I don't have that. I'm
Yeah.
Colombian and I don't have that experience. But how's been your journey of building your identity and making it one?
When it was more difficult when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, uh, kids would have mugs. It's a stupid example, but I always give it. People would have mugs with their name on it, that you would find in a gift shop, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never found anything with Dounia. So
Okay.
every time you would go on a holiday or this or that, you would have friends who would buy a key holder, a mug, this with their name. My name was never there. And
Mm.
when I was younger, I always hated my name, and I think it's because of that. I never identified to other people.
Mm.
I grew up in a Catholic environment. In terms of school, I went to a private Catholic school, and so not a lot of people were Muslim there. I won't say I suffered from racism, but I didn't see representation for myself when I was younger, and you didn't have social media as well. Um,
Right.
a few and Yeah, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you didn't have social media like that, so I wouldn't really see necessarily people doing well that looked like me or had a name similar than me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now it gets easier. And I heard someone say earlier this week that really stuck in my mind. She said, because she has a name, she's from North Africa as well, so it's a nice coincidence. Because she has a name that is uncommon in her field, when she meets people, then people will remember her,
Uh-huh.
and it's easier to remember you if you have an atypical name. And I thought, it's when I thought it was a weakness for so long, which I don't consider anymore, but for so long I thought that. And if I had someone telling me this, not my parents, I just thought they love me. That's it.
Yeah.
But I think it would have just been easier. So that's part of my identity building.
Building.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's super interesting. And I think reflecting on what you said, I mean, of course, I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Colombia, and yeah, but when I came here, I was very young. I was 24, and I was, well, discovering myself. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
building my identity. And anyway, because of my closest relationships, maybe no being proud
Mm-hmm.
and start building identity, that a false identity or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Um, but yeah, and then after was the evolution, and then it's a
More
process.
comfortable.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
comfortable and self love. Wow, yeah, super nice,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. And okay, so with that, and then you said about, well, when you were a kid and your name, do you think being ashamed it's something that stop us to build identity and stop us to evolve as people?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like a barrier for a lot of us that we don't feel, or we feel less legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that even not just because of my background, but because I'm a woman. When you're a woman in finance, it got better these years compared to probably people 20 years ago. But there are still rooms when you arrive and you're the only woman.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see as higher up representations you have women there, it means some barriers have been already broken in this company, so maybe there's less work for you. And I was part in my previous company. I was co-chair of the Pride Committee, and I joined them as an ally at first, and I just like to work with them, with this group specifically, at my company, just because they were very open and aware of barriers they needed to break. And I thought, what a great challenge to take on. I'm trying to break my own barriers. Why don't we join forces together, just to try to make things evolve as well? And I think that because I'm Muslim as well, some people might have misconceptions about me too, and about the LGBTQ community, maybe because you have, well, you have people everywhere that are not
Mm-hmm.
very nice person, let's say, and I think being part of that was really helping me as well, building my identity as a human, and not being just, okay, I need to break barriers because I'm a woman. Okay, I need to break barriers because I'm of this specific heritage. By the way, in 2024, when I feel papers, whether it's at work or even with like UK government, I'm other. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have African. It's Black African, so it's
Mm-hmm.
countries sub-Sahara, and I'm North African. So my ethnicity, and I'm not Arab either, and I
Right.
don't think they have Arab anyway. So it's white, Caucasian, Asian. So I'm part. Yeah, other doesn't help when you
And
tick.
100%. And I think the same with me. I when I feel everything is like I'm other, and
Exactly.
I always write Latino because
Okay.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand how it's still possible to be other. But
Oh, okay. And then that's super, like, thank you so much for sharing your experience at work.
mhm,
And I think, well, all industries are evolving
yeah,
as well, which is good
yeah,
in a good way. But also, I mean, complementing what you say about the shame is just some people need to get out of that
yeah.
comfort zone to start evolving and to start new things. And look at you, you're starting a
Yeah.
brand, which I feel like was that part of like your evolution, because I feel like you stop being ashamed
hmm
and
I'm
you build
becoming
that.
proud.
Yeah.
Well, I became proud.
Yeah.
And that's why I think when I was looking for the name of the brand, I looked for a very long time. And one of my best friend told me, why don't you call it Dounia?
Mm-hmm.
And when she told me that, directly I thought, I'm not going to call my brand, like, who would call a brand Dounia? Um, because it came back to my name not being seen anywhere. And I was going for a walk and I was thinking about it. And I was like, actually, I've always complained about how I don't see my name anywhere. So why is it not a good, it's a good name enough then to be not known by people and maybe make people discover something that they didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. And Dunya has a very beautiful meaning. It means the world, the universe, life. So
Wow.
it's like a huge thing to be proud of.
So nice.
And it took me, I'm 29 now, it took me probably 28 years to be like, okay, I'm happy with my name now. And that's why Dunya became DNA. I wanted something a little bit not more meaningful because my name is now meaningful to me, but I wanted the DNA that I had. I thought he played nice and exactly with the message that I wanted to share. Um, but yeah, I'm not ashamed anymore.
I'm so nice, and thank you so much for telling us
Yeah.
the meaning of your name. And your name is very beautiful, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Yes, super nice. May I ask you if, like, I mean, from my childhood, I have a lot of traumas,
hmm
which they are very important for me, for the evolution of who I am and from my identity. Um, do you think that was that helps you to build your identity as well?
Um, my parents were always very supportive, and my dad was always seen as this very traditional man, and especially in terms of religion. So, but there was a lot of misconceptions about him that also I understood when I grew up, and maybe I got annoyed when I was younger, and now I'm actually thankful for things that he might have done. And one of the things he always told me is that no matter where you come from, if you work hard enough, you can do anything. And especially as a woman, and a woman from a minority, and from Muslim background, there is this misconception that men control us. When you have a lot of men like my dad telling you you have so many opportunities, you need to believe in yourself. So it's not really a trauma, but I remember it's a good side of a trauma, I guess. Because when I was young, sometimes I was annoyed. I was like, why is he trying to make me so many things? Why does he want me to do that? Why does he want me to do this? I always had to be good at school. And basically, if I was good at school, I could do whatever I wanted on the side. So if I wanted to go out and be with my friends, I had to be good at school. And I always found it so annoying. So obviously it's not a big trauma, and I'm thankful that I didn't experience anything that traumatized myself on that sense. But it kind of like built me the person who I am now, because I was thinking, if I was raised like that, why do I put my own barriers when I was taught not to use them or not to have them? And I suffered from eating disorders because of my own barriers. So I think a part of my trauma that helped me with my brand is a lot of the ingredients that I'm using now. I was scared of them before. So I wouldn't eat peanut butter. I wouldn't eat oats. I wouldn't eat maple syrup. I use a combination of honey and maple syrup. If you told me that in the past, I would never have eaten those together, because I would have thought, oh my God, you're going to get weight for eating that, etc. So this part of the trauma made me like, I'm not afraid of food anymore. I want to be able to eat something that I enjoy, that is still healthy. It's not junk food, it's only wholesome ingredients. And it's funny because I would prefer to eat maybe a pack of candy that had low calories than maybe one fruit, like a banana, for example. Because diet culture told me that banana was bad, but a pack of candy that is 100 calories better, when it's completely the opposite.
Yes.
But that's something that I want my brand to look like as well. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, be proud of who you are, and don't try to be as skinny as possible. Take place, be loud, be you. And that's a still building in process.
Wow, and thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
That that is special, and I think that's very strong journey that you have gone, and storytelling from your brand
Yeah.
as well. And it's very important what you said, like, yeah, like eat well, healthy, and look after yourself is very important in a good way.
In a good way, not in
Yes.
the bad way that I was doing before. Do not eat the candies to replace fruits. Eat candy if you want to,
By not replacing for
exactly.
food for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, great, thank you. All right, and what about okay, so coming back for the identity, do you think building your identity or having a good identity helps you with creativity?
I think so, in the sense that it makes me also discover things I didn't know about my culture. Or I was not necessarily a big fan of orange blossom, for example. And I was thinking, what is a really big thing in North Africa for sweets? And orange blossom is a big part of it. So when I was working on the energy bowl recipes, I use orange blossom and I like it. And it made me get out of my comfort zone, being like, I do not like this. And it's not like I hated it. It was just not a pleasure to eat it before or have this taste. And I think my creativity came in when I like it now. And it's not that I like orange blossom. I like it in certain things, including in these energy bowls. But it took me some trials and error. It took me some me trying to honoring something that is in my DNA, but at the same time not necessarily an acquired taste. And I think even for people who don't come from there, it's easier because it's not too strong. It's just like a little flavor that gives a kick out of it, and it just feels a little bit more exotic without being too overpowering. And it took me quite some time to be able to do that. And I think it's thanks. I was going to say because, but I'm changing my words now. It's thanks to my creativity.
Nice. Okay, that's very interesting, and I completely agree with you. I think our identity is a big base for our creations. Like, I mean, flow and all my before when I was doing my interior design, my Colombian roots and also well my own identity reflects to
Yeah, who
all my
you are. Yeah,
creations. Yeah,
who you
so
are,
it's
what you make.
yeah, 100%. Thank you. So okay, well, I know you were telling us about your product.
Hmm.
So where can people find your product? Where can we order your products if
uh,
we can start ordering your product?
for now, we can, well, you can do it via Instagram. On my Instagram account, it's dna.withlove.
Mhm,
And I'm building a website.
mhm,
It's just I'm not a creative person on the art side, so it's quite difficult for me to find exactly what I want. I'm gonna be working with also people who come from a maybe minority background,
mhm.
and that might understand the duality of the vision that I have. I don't want it to be 100% one side or the other. I want to really be a mix of everything that I like. But hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to order via a website and then in shops. Why not? So
Coming
that's the
soon.
plan.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, how is your website? Hey, how is your Instagram?
DNA with love.
Okay, perfect.
I can give you then the handle to share if you want to, but yeah, Instagram. It's also a work in itself to find how to find my voice on Instagram, what to
Hmm.
post. I found this very interesting because I am. And I don't know if it comes from my culture because we share a lot, and we have usually a high generosity. And for me, in my stories, if I try something that I like or from a different brand or something that I do, I will post it in my stories. And I noticed that for brands, not a lot of people do that. So again, it's part of my culture to share. And I thought, maybe I'm not doing it the right way. And it's always the thoughts coming in, am I doing something wrong because it's different?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
But
see.
no, I feel like from a little advice, I feel like just go with the flow
Yeah.
and go with what makes your heart
Yeah.
good. That's it. And good intentions are always going to be a
Yeah.
good result. So yeah.
And I think there's space for everyone, no
Mhm.
matter what you do. It's not because you share. I even shared granola. Yes, I love my granola. Doesn't mean I always eat my granola all the time. Sometimes I want to eat a different flavor, and maybe I like a flavor that is not really with my brand identity.
Mhm.
For now, for example, I love matcha, but I wouldn't necessarily do a matcha flavor because it's not really with what I want to work on. It doesn't work with the DNA. It's not my DNA matcha, even if I love it.
Yeah.
So I think that there's place for everyone, and yeah, I think it should be the norm that if you help or give visibility to someone, first of all, it's free.
Mhm.
So why not?
100%. 100%. Thank you. To finish this podcast,
Yes.
I have three questions. Um, you can answer with one word or one sentence.
I will
So first one, it's what it's creativity for you.
try. Unknown.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying not
Unknown.
to say
I
it.
love it. I love it because no, but I wanna emphasize that the darkness of the unknown
Yeah.
is creation,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
love it.
okay.
Yes.
I would have never thought about it that way, but that works.
Okay. What was the unknown for you?
It was not really the darkness that creates something. It
Mhm.
was more, it's a completely different thing for me, and I'm still trying to
Okay.
navigate myself into it, and it's pushing me out of my comfort zone, unknown.
Nice. Yeah. It's very related. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. What is your creative expression? Your current creative expression?
Food.
Right.
I
Food.
love food.
Amazing. What flow the word means for you?
Natural in the sense of just letting go, be me when I want to be. Yeah, just natural.
Amazing. Love it. Okay. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much
Thank
for
you so
having
much
me.
for this amazing podcast. And anyway, I'm sure we're going to hear from you
Yeah.
soon. All right. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
listening. Bye.